Okay, before we do get started, we have to talk about this, otherwise you'll think, why has Simon killed a swan and put it on his fingers? I broke my stupid fingers, alright? I broke my stupid fingers. Over here in the UK, we're locked down, and I have to lift weights in the tiniest space ever. Some dumbbell basically grew legs and screwed me over. I don't want to talk about it, I'm very upset. Also, in the land of kayfabe, Sami Callihan did it, he's my mortal enemy, and he can kiss my ass. And if you heard me say that, I don't mean it really, come give me a hug. So every now and then you're gonna see it up here as well because I have to keep it elevated to take the swelling down. It's really boring and nobody cares. On more topical moments, although I only did it the other day, so it is quite topical. Point is, retro ups and downs, you voted for the, I'm putting it down, you voted for the WWE Raw when everybody goes on strike. You remember that one and CM Punk comes out with his Vince McMahon jacket? I'm sure we'll have a rollicking good time with that. But for now, given that it is Thursday, we have to go through the latest episode of AEW Dynamite and give the good bits an up and the bad bits a down and see how were they going to deal with the fallout when it came to trying to do an explosion and instead it just going poof. Never forget, mistakes just happened. But yeah, let's find out and up those downs for AEW Dynamite. You know how Dynamite likes to start. They pick two people and they put them in a crazy match, and that's what we did here, because we had Matt Jackson versus Fenix. Now, I was very intrigued about this because one, it's Rey Fenix and he's absolutely crazy, but two, you never really see Matt Jackson in singles action, so I was ready. However, they just smashed it. Like I smashed my fingers. It is actually called a crush injury. That's kind of cool. Up. Also, before we get into it properly too, Fenix, just Fenix. He is an alien. He's not human. He's an alien that has been sent from a planet where all they do is teach you how to wrestle, and if you're not good at wrestling, they shoot you in the face. He did this dive over the top rope at one point and left it so late until he tucked his head. I thought he was going to take his skull and just smash it into the mat, but he didn't. And it just looked beautiful. They started chopping each other at one point because that's just what we do, and then Matt Jackson was reversing Hurricane Runners into power bombs, and then he was applying the sharpshooter. When Phoenix got out of that, he hit Matt Jackson with a diving cutter. I mean, this stuff is just silly. And talking of silly, Phoenix then did his tightrope, top rope walk thingamajig. Matt Jackson got out of the way with that. He hit a destroyer back into the ring, and given that Phoenix had then fallen out the other side of the square circle, he gave him another one on the floor. I mean, this was the opening match of Dynamite, and then Nick Jackson and Pac were getting involved because they were ringside and they couldn't contain their emotions. Then there was a meeting of the feet in the middle of the ring between Matt Jackson and Phoenix before Phoenix busted out that big driver of his and got the 1, 2, 3, which sets us up very nicely for that tag team match that we are getting at some point. This was just excellent though, it just was. It was happy days. Where the hell is the funds? AEW then had to explain why Eddie Kingston had sold just looking at fireworks. And I do want to say that I think some of the reaction to this in the deepest, darkest corners of the internet has been a little bit too crazy. Did All Elite Wrestling make a mistake? Yes, they did. But should that mean that's the end of the company? Oh, they're never going to get back from this? I think that may be called hyperbole. Everybody drops the ball here and there. They also had Kingston in their back pocket, and Eddie Kingston could come on any television show and said, oh yeah, I did this because I thought it was a lamppost. And you go, well, I totally believe him because the words coming out of his face sound totally believable. So when he said he suffered a panic attack, much like the ones he used to have when he was in jail, I went, oh yeah, I can believe that. Because again, it's flipping Mr. Real Eddie Kingston. And also, if you ever had a panic attack, you know how horrible they are. And if I thought I was about to be blown to smithereens, I would likely have a panic attack. Or be overjoyed that I wasn't blown up into a million bits. But you can choose your own path. He was sitting there with John Moxley as well, and the pair then started ripping into Kenny Omega. At one point, they insinuated the reason the bomb was so crap was because it was made by Impact Wrestling. So again, get that gun out. And it ended when John Moxley said, I may not have won back my title, but I did win back my friend. And I was like, Simon, you can get through this? What a time. The pair then joked together, seemingly forgetting that a few weeks ago, Moxley had tried to rip Eddie Kingston's head off of his neck using some barbed wire, and I do believe they are going to go into some kind of team, and if they then do go and challenge for the tag team championships, well, I wouldn't think that was the worst thing in the world. It also removes Mox from the title scene for now, or maybe it doesn't because we've got something to talk about later, and this doesn't get an up and it doesn't get a down, it's just damage control. I thought that John Moxley and Eddie Kingston handled this wonderfully. Now let's just put it to bed hope the AEW learn, and we can move on to the next one. Cody then squashed Seth Gargis. Now, old Seth, he's been on Dark a couple of times, but he walked out here and he did not do well at all. He ended up in the figure 4 leg lock in around about 32 seconds and he tapped out. And being the very observant wrestling fan I am, I was like, well, surely there's got to be something afterwards. And yes, there was. Because Tony Schiavone popped in the ring to interview Cody Rhodes, and before Cody could barely say anything, all of a sudden Penta was here across the arena, and he had his translator. He taunted at least 78 times before he said anything, because you know Penta, he loves to do all that kind of stuff, like, constantly, before he said, ha ha, Cody, you're an absolute moron. You call yourself the Prince of Wrestling, and if that is true, well, I, Penta, am the Lord of Lucha Libre. And I was like, man, that was a pretty good line. Why Penta was so mad here, I have no idea, but he did say if it was him versus Cody, one-on-one at Revolution, Cody would have lost twice as bad, and now he's gonna screw up his arm to such a degree that Cody Rhodes is never gonna be able to hold his baby girl. I was like, Penta, you need to calm down. You stepped over the line here. Although all of this was being translated, so maybe the translator was just being a massive dick. There was too much for Cody, and he went after Penta, and they got into this massive brawl, and we found out they're gonna have a match next week, and I said out loud to myself, by Jove, that's something I wanna see. And I get that it came out of nowhere, but if that's the destination, I'm giving it a tick, or in this case, an up. Damn it, I can't use the finger of power prop. Look at that, up. That is not strong at all. The question is, does this count as a post-match brawl, given that there was an interview in between the match? Let me just consult the book here. It says, oh, here we go, paragraph 4, section C. If there is some kind of brawl within around about 5 minutes after a match, you can say it's a post-match brawl. Okay, good thing I just read that off my hand, which doesn't have any writing on it. Obviously, it's broken. Bring it down. There it is, the post-match brawl bar. It rolls up to 4. Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy were then in an arcade. Quite understandably, they were very upset about the events at the weekend. However, they do not want to let it lie, because they have one last challenge to make. Chuck wants to take on Miro, but this time, if Chuck does lose, he will be Miro's butler forever. Now, here's the thing. I love all of these guys, I really do. I think they're super entertaining and they're all great in the ring, but I just kind of feel like this feud has come to the natural conclusion or the natural end. This means if Miro wins, which he should, we have to go back into it, and if Miro loses, which he shouldn't, well, Miro was lost and that would be my issue. I also feel like we should use everything that happened at the pay-per-view to pivot over to Miro as a Kip Sabian and just build Miro as this unstoppable monster. And I'm a little disappointed that we're not. I mean, it surely has to be on the card at some point. I just think that, yeah, all good things need to come to an end. And this one really should have come to an end. So very sadly, I gotta give it a down. When they do have this fight though, there is gonna be a bunch of arcade machines around the ring. So I think there should be some kind of vote where we get to choose what arcade machines that will be there. And you should get that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game from back in the day. That one kicked ass. I then think we may have teased Sting versus Lance Archer. Oh. Essentially, Shivani was interviewing Sting, as they love to do. I'm pretty sure they do this for 5 minutes every single day, and sometimes we just have a camera in front of them. When, yes, they were interrupted by Jake Roberts and Lance was not in a good mood at all. Archer even went on to say that if things don't change soon, he will start taking more than time. I was like, are you gonna take Sting away for a meal? Are you gonna chuck him through the ceiling? Now, of course, there's every chance, given that Sting is Darby Allin's dad, maybe Lance Archer wants to go after the TNT title, but this one has me very intrigued. So it is a wait and see scenario. I have to see what we do week to week, because you can't do another cinematic match. That feels a little bit too soon. I don't think you can do Sting versus Lance Archer in the ring, but maybe you can. So again, as I just said, I gotta wait and see. It was then time to see what Ethan Page was able to do in an AEW ring, because he was taking on Lee Johnson, and there's a couple of things we need to talk about. One, Lee Johnson did a promo beforehand with QT Marshall, or QT Marshall did most of the talking. I was like, wait a minute. If what QT had done at Revolution had happened to me, I wouldn't be standing anywhere near this guy. He's a dirty little toe rag. But also, two, I don't know what happened here, and it's been talked about, and Tony Khan's already made good on it by putting the video up on YouTube. But throughout this match, there was just a bunch of NBA basketball noises. I'm just telling you how I saw it. I have no idea. Otherwise, I thought they did have a really good match. It's not like this was trying to highlight anybody in particular when it came to wrestling skills. But what it was doing was letting you know without a shadow of a doubt that even if you thought about cheering Ethan Page, you shouldn't. He's a dastardly dirty heel. He proved this too when he attacked Johnson's knee after the referee was checking on him, because before that Lee would be like, oh my leg, I'm in trouble, and he followed it up with the razor's edge to get the win. Now I can't remember what the announcers called it, but surely he must be calling it the Page's Edge for obvious reasons. Page then continued to whoop him, and do you know what that QT Marshall did? Nothing, nada. He just walked off, meaning that Dustin Rhodes had to come out to make the save. And this QT, he better start explaining He better start explaining himself soon, because again, it's just not right and it's just not fair. Still though, I thought it was a good showing for Ethan Page. I really like Lee Johnson. I'm enjoying this sort of problems between the Nightmare family, so we can have it up. Adam Page then told us everything he had bought with his winnings from his match against Matt Hardy before he and the Dark Order drove off on a lawnmower. Sometimes you don't need to get into the nitty-gritty, you just need to get the main message across. This was brilliant. And then Dynamite took quite the turn. Because just as we were about to announce Christian, so finally he could tell us why he did arrive in AEW, Kenny Omega's music hit, and out came a very upset cleaner. I don't mean the janitor, I mean the nickname for Kenny Omega. Can you imagine that? The janitor walks out, I want a pay rise, Fred, leave it. Anyway, he was here with Don Callis and the Good Brothers, and they were overjoyed that the bomb at Revolution didn't work, because as far as they were concerned, this was a win-win. If it did go off, Jon Moxley would be dead, but now that it hasn't, all the fans are pissed off, and that makes Kenny and his Mega and his crew really, really happy. So once again, they had to do something, and I completely understand that. Although what I was not expecting was when, I don't even know how I have to say this, Don Callis and Kenny Omega fell to the floor in a particular position, with Kenny just screaming, 69 me, Dom, 69 me. I don't really know why they did this, but if it was a diversion tactic, well done, All Elite Wrestling, I was diverted. Omega then also went on about how he got goosebumps at the thought of Jon Moxley being killed, so that guy is off the rails. And at this juncture, I do want to say, Kenny Omega is such a good heel. He comes across like an insane person. Him and Don Callis are getting proper boos from the crowd. This really is some good damn work. Eddie Kingston eventually arrived because he wasn't having any of this, and Don Callis jumped on him like right on Wise, because he was a, hey man, Eddie, do you remember when I hired you for Impact and you were really talented, but then you got fired because you're always shooting yourself in the foot? That's your life, pal, and you did it again at Revolution, and you'll do it again down the line. And we were really going in on poor Eddie here, so you could just see, oh my gosh, we're turning him into a lovely good guy that we can hug and send cheese parcels to, when Kenny was like, I dare you to hit me in the face. So you know Eddie Kingston, you just hit him in the face. The problem with all of that is that Gallows and Anderson were right there, so everybody did start to beat up Kingston before his new best friend Jon Moxley came out to make the save. And then we had another countdown on the screen. It's like, oh my gosh, is it going to be a bomb? But you knew that wasn't the case, because this is exactly what they'd done for Christian on Sunday. So out came the former WWE guy. He got in the ring and he went right up to Kenny Omega, and even though Kenny offered it his hand, Mr. Cage was having none of it, so he actually went for the unprettier, or whatever the hell we're going to call it now. Don Callis had to save Kenny Omega, and then Christian picked up the AEW title, and I got very excited, but once again, if you just went so quiet, you could hear the internet going crazy. I don't want to see Christian go after the AEW title. Are you flipping kidding me? Because here's the thing, do I think Christian will become the AEW World Champion? No, I think Kenny Omega's going to have a very long reign. But if you are going to bring Christian in, and I get to enter fantasy booking territory, is one of my top matches that I'm going to want to see Kenny Omega versus Christian? The answer is hell yeah. So this made me really happy, and it ticked my, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're seeing this 2021 box. And before we get there, we may even get Jon Moxley, Eddie Kingston and Christian taking on Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, which is also brilliant. So this was an absolutely bizarre segment that did have me laughing a lot, and that's why I'm giving it an up. And then my laughter continued, and in fact, it got louder, because we were having a 6-person tag team match where Maki Ito was going to be teaming with Nyla Rose and Britt Baker to take on Shida, Mizunami, and Thunder Rosa. And here's how it started. As everybody in the ring kicked the crap out of each other, Maki Ito got on the microphone and started singing that song she sings, and even after the music had stopped, she just kept on singing. I thought this was hilarious. It made me feel all warm and fuzzy in my tum-tum, to the point I don't even need to mention the rest of this match. As soon as this happened, I was like, I'm having fun, I'm sports entertained. I don't care if they have the worst contest ever now. I'm gonna laugh about this for a good 10 minutes. I'm giving it up. Also, it wasn't a bad match either. I just want to make that very clear. It wasn't a bad match. I thought it was great. Once again, Maki Ito stole the show because she's got that stupid stop, I'm gonna fall sideways headbutt thing. And when she misses it, it's like you're watching a cartoon. And of course, at one point, the tag team klaxon went off, with signals to everybody that they're all allowed to get in there and hit their big move. And it ended with Thunder Rosa hitting the fire driver onto Maki Ito. She got the 1, 2, 3, because Thunder Rosa's a really good wrestler. There was also another post-match angle, as we do get in a lot of Dynamite matches, but this one had real significance. Because Britt Baker got the crutch that Rebel had been using. She whomped Thunder Rosa with it, put her in the lockjaw, and then they all jumped around going, ha, we're better than you. And the reason we did this is because on Dynamite next week, we are having an unsanctioned lights out main event between Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa. And I'm pretty excited about that. I feel it feels like a big deal. It was gibberish. I think it feels like a big deal. It gets 2 thumbs from me. Or a thumb. Whatever the hell that is. And over the last few days, have you been wondering, well, what's going to happen now between the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, given that it seems like their relationship with Eddie Kingston is over? And I was like, well, I'm sure they'll go back to their shop and they'll do some kind of sales and they'll increase their profits. But no, they have found a new leader. Because he was in the back here talking to Private Party saying he doesn't even care about all the money that he lost on Sunday because he's loaded, and he has used his finances to hire the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, and now him and Private Party and these 3, they're gonna take down the Dark Order for good. Hopefully when they do that, the Dark Order will still be on the lawnmower, and I'm really enjoying this feud, and I don't really know why. A lot of it is kind of silly, but I think everybody plays their roles like so consistently. I bought in. Which brought us to our in-ring main event, which was going to see Scorpio Sky going after Darby Allin's TNT title championship, woo-ha! And I thought this was a flippin' brilliant match, and I had a lot of fun. I also realised about halfway through that I really wanted Scorpio Sky to win, and I didn't really know why. It could be that he was officially allowed to become Sonic after Revolution when he got that big ring. But unfortunately, on this night, my dreams were not coming true. They shook hands to begin with to assure you that Scorpio Sky hadn't gone full Robotnik yet, but don't worry, in around about 10 minutes, he's absolutely going to. And also at first, they were doing chain wrestling and mat wrestling and technical wrestling, with Darby Allin getting the better of Scorpio Sky. And you could see it in Sky's eyes, he was not happy about this. He went for a sunset flip eventually, but Darby Allin reversed that into a cradle, then hit a code red. But Scorpio Sky was able to break out of that, and then he just started German suplexing Darby around the ring. Every single one, Allin basically landed on his head. They then went into reversal mode with some of the craziest transitions you've ever seen. Like Scorpio Sky was able to hit a cutter onto the mats on the outside after Darby Allin had done a dive, and then when Darby went for the coffin drop, Scorpio turned that into a powerbomb. And I genuinely thought that was going to be it. Kind of surprisingly, it wasn't. What it must have done is triggered Darby's reflex gland, because as soon as Scorpio Sky went for the TKO, he went, nope, don't do that, and he reversed it into the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up, because he's a smart guy, Darby Allin, and he watches wrestling, and he knows what moves works, and he retained his title. Unfortunately, Scorpio had clearly made promises to all his friends and family that he was going to come back with the gold, because afterwards, he whooped the absolute crap out of Darby to underline that, yes, unfortunately, he is no longer on the side of good, and he has turned to the side of bad. I think he was exactly what we needed, though, and I really like Scorpio Sky as a heel. He's got something. And if it means we now get another match between these two, given what we just saw, well, who the hell gonna get mad at that? That one guy that gets mad at everything, he gonna get mad, ignore him. And at one point I thought that was the end of Dynamite 2 before I was like, oh no, yeah, we've got the War Summit with the Inner Circle. And I kind of got all oogly boogly in my tum-tum, because I was like, oh man, here we go. I am finally gonna find out if my stupid prediction between MJF and Sammy Guevara is right. And although I was like this close at one point, I also missed by a mile. But who cares? This was flippin' excellent. The entire group was in the ring apart from Wardlow, and make sure you put that one in your brain, when Chris Jericho got on the microphone and said, yep, we're having a bad time at the moment, but don't worry, we're gonna hire somebody new to get back on track. When MJF took the mic and said, no, I don't think we should do that, Chris. In fact, I think the best thing to do is to kick somebody out. At that very moment, Sammy did return. I was like, oh man, here we go. But no, instead, he showed a clip to Chris Jericho, because he hid in the camera in the Inner Circle's locker room, of Maxwell Jacob Friedman trying to convince everybody else that he should be the leader and that Le Champion should be kicked to the curb. So all of a sudden it looked like they were about to attack Chris Jericho, but when they got to his side of the ring, they all turned, they looked at Maxwell when Jericho got on the microphone. This is a huge reason I like AEW. And he said, dude, of course we all know what you've been doing. Do you not think that we talk to each other, we talk all the time, and now we're gonna kick you into space? It also allowed Jericho to do the big "you're fired" line to MJF, and can we all just take a minute to appreciate what a good asshole MJF is? He was begging off here, he was almost in tears, he came across like such a sniveling baby, which is exactly what you should be doing if you want to be a disgusting villain. He then used this moment to flip on a dime though, because he went from that to going, well, actually, this has nothing to do with the Inner Circle. I've been building my own group, and the lights went off. And when they came back on, who was in the ring? Tully Blanchard, FTR, Shawn Spears and Wardlow, and the fight was on. It ended with this would-be four horsemen too absolutely decimating the Inner Circle. I mean, there were bottles over people's heads going into the floor. Chris Jericho got taken up the rampway and powerbombed through a table. And do not forget, Chris Jericho is 50 years old. And when you saw this new group standing there like, "Rah, we're the best," I got super excited about this. I was like, oh man, I didn't see that angle coming. Now you've just set up a bunch of matches for who knows how long, and you get gang warfare. I really, really like gang warfare. It was also perfect timing for AEW, because no one's going to be thinking about that stupid explosion now. You should be more excited about this. And honestly, I thought this was one of the best endings to Dynamite in a long ass time. So really, no matter what you thought about the rest of the show, it left you wanting more, which is what all good television programs should do. So I'm going to give it an up. Just not the same. Now don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about last night's episode of Dynamite. Like the video, share the video, and please do subscribe. You can also check it out over on WhatCulture.com. You can watch more videos here on the YouTube channel that are around my head. And if you've got social media, which of course you do, come give us a follow. My name is Simon Miller. Thank you very much for watching me as always. This has made me very sad. So be nice about it. Don't be horrible. You don't want to make me cry, do you? No, you don't. Probably do. Whatever, I don't care. And I'll see you on the next one.